Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Great things are happening. Great things are happening. Happy Tuesday. According to Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, and from Bridge MCP in Binghamton, New York. Welcome, upstate New York, that is. Welcome, Lee Grant out of Montgomery County. Welcome, AVQ. El Senor Michael Rutnan out of Brooklyn, New York. He says, watching for a little while, heading out soon as my ride gets here. Oh, we're going to miss you? You're going to go out at the time of politics? I'm kidding you. Love your brother, love your brother, love your brother. He said, holy SHIT. Democrats actually made a good decision. November will be a landslide. AP Harris picks Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate will appear together at Pennsylvania rally. Yes, they will appear together at Pennsylvania rally. It is amazing that the fortunes of the Democratic Party has turned around in just a little bit. Isn't that right, folks? Isn't that right? Anyway, folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. If I haven't mentioned your name, if I haven't seen you, please go ahead and go ahead and let me know. Let me know, and I will be more than happy to do what I do, and that is call you out and thank you for being here. Well, anyway, it looks like we have some interesting. Yvette Avery Harrod is in the house. She said, "Afternoon, PDR Posse." Afternoon, Yvette. Great to have you here in the house with us as well. Lizard Queen is in the house. Lizard Queen, I believe, is from, I don't recall. Tom C says technical problems on YouTube. Not that I know of exactly what's happening. Please keep me informed. Eric Hayes is here as well. But we are going to have a great time. Eric Hayes is going to hyperventilate because it's all coalescing towards our landslide. But you know what? It's a great thing, Eric. Your personal economy will be better under the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz administration. It's going to be great. But guess what happened, folks? We have some interesting news. Just like things are happening, just like I said, they would, right? Let's start talking about it. Guess what? Harris beats Trump in the latest polls, expanding her lead in the national poll average. So here we go. It is. Vice President Harris has taken a 3-point lead over Donald Trump in the national race for the White House, according to a pair of surveys released this week. On Monday, Survey USA and UMass Amherst both released surveys showing the Democratic candidate winning over more likely voters than the former president, a stark turnaround from before she entered the race last month. According to the Survey USA, Harris earns the support of 48% of the votes. Trump earns 45%. According to UMass Amherst, the vice president has 46% of the votes to 43% over GOP candidate. In January, the same pollster Trump leading Joe Biden by 43-39. So as you can also see, Donald Trump has a ceiling, but and that ceiling is a cave-in ceiling because as Tim Walz get into the process and people understand his policies, guess what's going to happen? The ceiling for Donald Trump is going to keep falling. And the bottom for Kamala Harris is going to keep increasing. So, folks, get ready for the ride. The ride is about to start. we are about to see Miss, what's her name? The former governor of South Carolina is about to, Nikki Haley's statement is about to come true, right? Anybody remember what Nikki Haley had to say? Anybody remembers what Nikki Haley had to say? Let's see if I still have her in my PDR files here. I would like to play Nikki Haley. Let's see if I can find Nikki Haley. Okay, I think I found Nikki Haley. I'm going to play Nikki Haley's point here. Before we get into the show, E2247, welcome aboard. Great to see you here. Great to see you here. Did I miss? Tom C is in the house as well. Let's go ahead and play what Nikki Haley had to say a few times ago, and then we'll take it on the other side. Well, can you believe it? Nikki Haley rings prophetic. Nikki Haley said that the first party that puts up someone other than their octogenarian to run that party is going to win the election. Well, I tell you what, let's listen to her, and then we'll take it on the other side.
With Donald Trump, Republicans have lost almost every competitive election. We lost the Senate. We lost the House. We lost the White House. We lost in 2018. We lost in 2020. And we lost in 2022. The worst kept secret in politics is how badly the Democrats want to run against Donald Trump. They know Trump is the only Republican in the country who Joe Biden can defeat. You can't fix the mess if you don't win an election.
We want to win.
A Trump nomination is a Biden win and a Kamala Harris presidency. I defeat Biden handily. With Donald Trump, you have one bout of chaos after another. This court case, that controversy, this tweet, that senior moment. You can't fix Joe Biden's chaos with Republican chaos. The other day, Donald Trump accused me of not providing security at the Capitol on January 6th. Now, I've long called for mental competency tests for politicians over the age of 75. Trump claims he'd do better than me in one of those tests. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But if he thinks that, then he should have no problem standing on a debate stage with me. Most Americans do not want a rematch between Biden and Trump. The first party to retire its 80-year-old candidate is going to be the party that wins this election.
Yes. Prophetic was Nikki Haley seems to be. The reality is, one could say, she was just talking. But if we take a look at what's happening on the playing field, the political playing field right now, it actually seems like that's what we're gearing up to. We even hear that the excitement that we're seeing around Kamala Harris is Obama-esque. What does Obama-esque mean? Remember how it was when Obama was running. Remember that excitement. Remember how it felt. Somehow to some, we're starting to regenerate that feeling again. The feeling of some sort of a hope. The feeling that things can get better. The feeling that we can move forward and forget the past. And you know what? It is something that we need right now. It's something that we can finally eliminate once and for all, the clear and present danger that is former President Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. Because if the landslide occur as I'm predicting in November, it would have proven to the Republican Party that MAGA and Donald Trump are both a clear and present danger, and it'll give them the impetus to have the purge that's necessary so that America can come back again and have a conservative, viable party, one that is not based on hate and rhetoric, but one that is really based on having the discussions as far as what's best for America. Absolutely so. Absolutely. So Nikki Haley nailed it. She was prophetic. And you know what? Let's go a little further here. Look, brother Grant, my dear brother Grant, the 3% drop in the stock market was a blip. The 12% drop in the Japan stock market was recovered immediately after the next day. But let me go a little bit further. It shows you the fraud that is our economic system that you mentioned, the stock market. The stock market is based on nothing. The stock market, I know many don't like when I say this, both progressives and conservatives don't like when I say this, but the stock market is a joke. It's a gambling casino, nothing else. The value that something has on the stock market has no correlation with what it represents. I want everybody to hear me distinctly. The value of a stock has absolutely no correlation with the value of a company. I can give you the extremes. Donald Trump's True Social is worth billions, but it only makes a few $100,000 a year. No correlation between the value of that and it. Microsoft is worth trillions, or I don't remember how many billions. No correlation with its asset value and anything. There is no correlation between the stock price and something else. I wish people will understand that. It's legalized gambling. Our whole economic system is based on a fraud created by a few people who found ways to get rich by being parasitic. Okay? I know people don't like to hear this because this is how we were reared. This is how we grew up. We grew up thinking, well, you can invest in the stock market, and we learned about EBITDA and all these things. Our earnings before income and taxes. Oh, we learned all these fancy words that they use in the structure of our capitalist economy based on stock, etc. It's a fraud. It's legalized fraud. If you really wanted to have a value for something, you would go ahead and have what the actual value of a company is. You can amortize what you think the future earnings are going to be and bring that back to reality. That is never, they try to imply like they do that, right? But because you can't tell certain things in the future, that doesn't have much value. But again, there is no correlation for you to say, well, the Trump stock is worth XYZ or Microsoft stock is worth XYZ. Okay? It is very, very sad to me. Very sad to me that we believe so wholeheartedly in a system that is nothing more than two things: legalized fraud, and Bernie Sanders would tell you Wall Street is what again? Wall Street is fraud. The business model of Wall Street is fraud, right? Bernie said it several years ago. Richard Wolff would tell you that as well. Okay, he'll tell you that. And now, and the second thing it's a gambling casino. You stand the same risk of losing money as a regular investor on the stock market likely as you do in Vegas. Okay? Exactly. Okay, let's see. Lee Grant, I posted that. Let's see what Lee, not what she said. Congress could disqualify Donald Trump if the ex-president wins the keys to the White House, a top Democrat has claimed. Democrat Representative Jamie Raskin claimed the 14th Amendment included provisions to halt Trump's march on the Oval Office by adopting Civil War provisions. In unearthed footage first released in February, Raskin said, and the greatest example going on right now before our eyes in Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which says they're just disappearing with a magic wand as if he doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it stayed in. And so they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. Yep. I mean, it's amazing how they like to cut things down and not give you the full wording, right? It is amazing. It is amazing. Let's see. Walz, former Minnesota District Congressman 2006 to 2018, Governor of Minnesota 2019 to now, is from a rural district. He adopted popular progressive policies as Minnesota But you know what else is great about Walz? And let me see if I can find the article that I wrote. He is the only guy. He got a slim majority in Congress, right? In his legislature. And what he was able to do is, and I'm trying to bring up I know I wrote an article about it a while back, and I'm trying to find that article. All right, Rudnan, you have a safe trip. I know your ride has showed up. Have a safe trip, and we'll miss you on the chat. I have some other videos that I did that I want to show, but beforehand, I need to go ahead and process it. Mike Cisak says, I can see why Harris would pick Walz, though. He's a fruity left as she is. I know the Trump campaign has been all smiles since it was announced. That's what they would like you to believe. They want you to believe that they're all smiles. But you know, Walz best said it when he was interviewed. Uh, let me think about this, okay? You really think that I am that you really think that you can throw the progressive trope on me? Ha! No, it doesn't work that way because guess what? I offered these things to my constituents, and guess what? They love it. They love it. Let's see if I can find out what it is that I said here. If this is it, I think this is the one here. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz wants Democrats to think big and do big things with these words. Oh, maybe I should play that one. Today I'm off the cuff, guys, and the reason I'm off the cuff is because there's so much happening today that I, kind of, how things are. Anyway, let's go ahead and play this here from Brother Walz. I don't know exactly what I said, but check it out. Democrats are in control of both houses in Minnesota, and the governorship belongs to Tim Walz, a Democrat as well. And I wanted you to listen to this because Governor Walz is bold. And what he's asking Democrats is, don't think puny. Don't think maybe we should kind of compromise before we need to compromise. Think big and get things done. Listen to what the governor had to say. More Democrats need to think like him and be as assertive. I have some additional progressive policies that I would want to put out, probably more so than most governors that get elected. But again, this guy shows that he's willing to go out there and get things done. Listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
In Minnesota, the Democratic Party now controls both chambers of the state's legislature, and so Governor Tim Walz is asking his fellow Democrats to, quote, think big when it comes to voting issues and other reforms the party is hoping to put into action. And so joining us now, Democratic Governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. Governor, it's an exciting time for Democrats in Minnesota. First time in 8 years you've controlled both chambers. So how do you plan to use this new power?
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. I think we're going to use it to improve the lives of Minnesotans. They spoke very clearly in this election. One of the things here we're very proud of in Minnesota is we rank at or near the top in voter turnout. With automatic voter registration, pre-registration for 16 and 17-year-olds, felon restoration of voting rights, and then finally being able to use some of the federal money. We've been stopped by Republicans in the Senate from using the HAVA money, the Help America Vote Acts, and so I think moving to protect that ballot, and then moving on to things that people saw are under threat: reproductive rights, abortion, access for women, and then we're going to make historic investments in education to raise your family and have a child. So those are things that I think folks spoke clearly about, and it's not.
All right, here we go again. I'm sorry about that, guys. Here we go. We should kind of compromise before we need to compromise. Think big and get things done. Listen to what the governor had to say. More Democrats need to think like him and be as assertive. I have some additional progressive policies that I would want to put out, probably more so than most governors that get elected. But again, this guy shows that he's willing to go out there and get things done. Listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
In Minnesota, the Democratic Party now controls both chambers of the state's legislature, and so Governor Tim Walz is asking his fellow Democrats to, quote, think big when it comes to voting issues and other reforms the party is hoping to put into action. And so joining us now, Democratic Governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. Governor, it's an exciting time for Democrats in Minnesota. First time in 8 years you've controlled both chambers. So how do you plan to use this new power?
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us. I think we're going to use it to improve the lives of Minnesotans. They spoke very clearly in this election. One of the things here we're very proud of in Minnesota is we rank at or near the top in voter turnout in every election, and protecting that access to the ballot with, automatic voter registration, pre-registration for our 16 and 17-year-olds, felon restoration of voting rights, and then finally being able to use some of the federal money. We've been stopped by Republicans in the Senate from using the HAVA money, the Help America Vote Acts, and so I think moving to protect that ballot and then moving on to things that people saw are under threat, reproductive rights, abortion, access for women, and then we're going to make historic investments in education to make this the best state in the country to raise your family and have a child. So those are things that I think folks spoke clearly about, and it's not, about Democrats having power and doing whatever we want. It's moving things forward that people asked for that have been stalled. So it is an exciting time.
Governor, the headline of the New York Times article says that Democrats are going on the offensive with voting rights in Wisconsin. How specifically do you plan to go on the offensive?
Yeah, and I think you see this, as I said, Minnesota has a long tradition, bipartisan tradition, by the way. We don't fear the voters. They vote, and however they vote, we respect that. We've seen this attack on voting rights, attack on our elections, have an incredible Secretary of State in Steve Simon that keeps Minnesota as safe, fair elections. So we need to make sure, as we see across the country, rolling back of this, states around us, making it difficult for people to get water while they're voting. It's ridiculous to people here. So I think, again, we have same-day registration, but we need to pre-register. Everybody's there. We need to make sure that it's easy to vote. We need to make sure we have more access, as I said, using some of those federal dollars in our state surplus to make sure that we have plenty of voting places for people to vote. And we know that vote by mail is secure and safe. And when you're in a state like Minnesota, the weather's unpredictable, as we've seen across the country. Just things to expand access to the ballot, letting people vote, and however they choose to vote, that is their right to do. But this idea of we're seeing across, in other states where there's this attempt to make it more difficult to vote. In Minnesota, we want to make it as easy as possible. We know our elections are safe, secure, and fair, and we're going to lean into that, codify that, and put up a firewall, because this attack on voting rights is attack on the basic core of democracy, and it needs to end.
I absolutely agree with you, Governor Walz. This is Eddie Glaude, and you say you want folks to go big. Now, what is the lesson you're sending to the National Party? We know that voting rights is stalled in the House of Representatives. The John Voting Rights Act haven't been able to do much with that. So what are you saying to the National Party leaders as you go big in Minnesota around the voting rights issue?
Yeah, and I say that I had the privilege of serving for a dozen years in Congress with John Lewis, and many conversations about this. Went with John to Selma and listened to some of those things and understanding. This is a critical time in our nation's history, and we've watched people erode that basic right. I think now, if we can't get it federally, states need to take the lead. We saw that with the decision on Roe. I don't think the Supreme Court is done, and I think now we have an opportunity with folks who care about the democracy, care about access to abortion, care about public schools, care about union organizing. We need to use this as an opportunity. If there's any things Republicans have taught me, we have a slim majority here in the Senate, but Republicans always told me a one-vote majority is a majority. And that's what I'm saying now is Democrats who care about this. And this isn't about, we're going to make this state more hospitable for people to come here and teach if they want to come and teach, to start businesses. We have a strong business climate. This isn't about some strange ideology that we have. These are basic American tenets of access to the vote, access to public education, access to make your own healthcare decisions. And I just think for us to, I come from a rural district that I served in Congress. I'm willing to compromise. I'm not going to compromise on the ballot. I'm not going to compromise on women's rights. I'm not going to compromise on public schools. And I think we need to understand that the states are going to be at the forefront of that. I'm really excited that my good friend Gretchen Whitmer is in the same situation we are, because we've seen this in states where we have incredible governors like Tony Evers in Wisconsin. They have to fight against some of the most basic things. So my message nationally is that the vast majority of if people agree with this. We always we scratch our heads. People know that we need to do something around safe gun legislation. It pulls out the roof, yet nothing happens. I think states, when they're in an opportunity to make a change, need to go bold.
Yeah, Mr. Governor, I actually was going to go on that very topic. Democrats wanted to go big on the idea of gun safety, and your state touched by this just a few days ago. The Mall of America, the famous mall there in Minnesota,
Yes.
5 people were arrested in the fatal shooting there that sent the mall, the nation's largest, into lockdown for hours on the eve of the holiday. In fact, members of the New York Giants were there and had to shelter in place for a few hours. What more can be done on guns, both at the state and federal level?
Yeah, I was in the very store yesterday with my 2 children, 21 and 16, and they're talking about it, how outrageous it is. Look, I served 24 years in the military. I have fired these weapons. I know when there's a place for them, and it's the battlefield. I'm also a lifelong hunter. I'm a pheasant hunter. It's my thing. I grew up doing it. It's cultural, and it's all of that. The common sense things that we're talking about, whether it is making sure that we're doing good background checks, making sure that we have red flag laws, those things don't impede your lawful right to own firearms, but there are too many guns on the street. When we have 18 and 17-year-olds with illegal firearms on the streets, strengthening penalties around straw purchasers, we need to recognize these types of things don't happen in the same numbers they do elsewhere, and people have the freedoms to do things in other countries. We need to get this fixed. And again, I come from a rural area. I come from a culture, as I said, of hunting and serving in the military. There is absolutely no argument to be made that you need these weapons of war and that there shouldn't be restrictions against them. Again, we make it difficult for an 18-year-old to register to vote, but they can buy an AR with no background check in some cases. It's ridiculous. So I agree with you. Minnesota's we're not immune to this. It shakes us. We, again, are traditionally a very safe state, but we've seen a rise in violence, especially gun violence. And again, we're going to put money into the things that stop this from happening. But I get, it's irritating to me when I hear Republicans say, well, it's a mental health issue or something like that. We have a lot of issues dealing with mental health, but many of those people are not violent. It's a gun problem, and we need to figure that out.
Good for you, Tim Walz. I think it's important for us to understand that people respect strength. People respect those who are actually doing something that they feel is moving the country in the right direction, things that are positive for society as a whole. Great job. We spend a lot.
Absolutely great job. Absolutely great job. I played that. Hey, thank you for that, Bridge MCP. For those who want to know what sensible policy look like, in other words, Donald Trump has no policy. If you doubt me, I'll show you what Stuart Stephen had to say in a little bit. Another Republican. We got a lot of Republicans voting for Kamala. But here it is that, let's go ahead and put that on the screen now for Kamala. Kamala Harris has policies. There we go. It's all set up and ready to go. Anything that you want to know, you can go there. Whether the first woman governor of Minnesota is going to be a Native American, that's going to be a double whammy. Will the right wing go crazy? Of course they will. Of course they will. But you know what? We will continue to try to nurture them into honesty, into morality. I'm talking about those who need it, of course. That's going to be so difficult for them to understand. And Breach, don't bother trying to answer the felon questions that these guys are talking about, because you have to remember, Eric Hayes, our brother Eric Hayes, our brother Mike Cisak, our brother, who else? I know this is mostly guys, right? Our brother, who else is in the house? Lee Grant. They are voting for a convicted felon who can't vote. The people that Walz and others want or said after they paid their price to society, they regained their rights to vote. Well, Donald Trump hasn't yet paid his price to society for his felony, for his 34 felonies. So that felon, Donald Trump, can't vote for himself. But we have people in this chat that have no problem voting for that felon. But anyhow, let's listen to what the Lincoln Project Stuart Stevens had to say. Okay? Let's go ahead and listen to this. Oh no, Lee Grant is my brother. He's my good buddy. Okay, but check it out. Tim Walz, it is. Kamala made the right choice as choosing the Minnesota governor as her running mate. I don't think she could have done any better given her choices, which were great choices. But again, this was a unifying choice. This was a choice that brought a progressive who knew how to cater a message that most Americans say that they want, because do remember that most Americans are progressive, even if they don't call themselves that, because again, of the policies that they want. But they asked on a panelist here on MSNBC, Stuart, tell us, Stuart, how does Republicans fight back against this? Can they just say liberal to try to fool or scare people? And he came out with the best answer because he proved, well, I tell you what, listen to this and then we'll take it on the other side.
So we know the full ticket, right? Let's say you're sitting in the Trump war room. What's your bumper sticker message? Is it liberal, or what do you think their strongest move is here?
I think that they're struggling when they say they're going to unleash hell on earth. I mean, that's just so over the top. They have a language problem in the Trump campaign. And that is, in a changing America in this world, how do you talk about things that don't sound like a kind of campaign that Republicans ran, and I ran some of them, back in the late 80s and 90s? Call the other person liberal, put it up. I don't think that stuff works very well anymore. It's very dated. At the heart of this goes back to the fact that what is the Republican message? Not just the Trump campaign. What is the bargain they're striking with voters? That you vote for me and you get what? There's no policy. There's nothing, a program. There's no 100-day agenda as there is now with the Harris-Walz campaign, as there was with the Biden campaign. So I think that leaves a hollowness there. And so they end up sort of yelling these your mama too kind of insults. And I don't know how much money Democrats paid J.D. Vance to follow the Walz Harris campaign around, but whatever they paid him, it was worth it, because that contrast, that is not a positive contrast for Republicans.
He nailed it. Republicans have nothing to run on. It is always about just calling somebody a name, calling somebody liberal, but they offer nothing to the American people. And Stuart asked the most important question. If I vote for you, what do I get from your policies? Your policies don't help me. Donald Trump talks about, hey, oil company, give me $10 billion and I'll make sure you can continue to destroy our environment. Give me this, it's Trump asking for things. It's Trump getting paid for being president so that he can then sell us out to a plutocracy. So what do you get for voting for a Republican politician, for Republican policies right now? All the red states are the poor states. All the red states are the sicker states. All the red states are the states with the lowest economies. The question again, what do they get? All the red states are being subsidized by the rest of us, by the blue states. Again, what do you offer to Republicans for voting for you? Now you go ahead and I vote for, if I'm voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, what do I get? I know that if I'm on the lower end of the economic spectrum, that we are going to get a hand up. In other words, we're going to get childcare. We're going to get family leave. We're going to get health care. We're not going to try to overturn these things. We're not going to try to reduce these budgets on the back of the working class, but instead tell the parasite class, you have to pay more taxes for the benefits that these people have afforded you. It's not difficult. And it's a message that sells if we have the right people selling the truth. It's that simple. It's not difficult. Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, landslide, November.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Tim Walz, it is. Kamala made the right choices choosing the Minnesota. Absolutely so. All right, brother Ray Brackens is in the house. Hold on, don't speak yet, Ray. Let me change the speaker system so we don't get all that feedback. Let's see. You're on. Talk to me, Brackens.
Yes, sir. I'm actually here because I'm actually excited about the VP pick. I didn't know who the guy was at first. I was probably going for Shapiro because I knew of his popularity, but I also heard of some of his liabilities. And I heard when it came between him and Walz, I heard that Walz was highly touted by other progressive pundits, you know what I mean, like yourself. And knowing that, it was like, okay, I want Walz, because, you know, the one thing that struck out to me is they said that Walz is about as close to Bernie. And when I heard that, I was like, say less, you know, I mean, so I've heard that clip that you played. He seems, you know, unapologetically progressive. And he's somebody that's not afraid to fight. He's going to be a fighter against the Republicans, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, you notice what he said in that thing that I just played. He said the Republicans always say a one-vote majority is a majority. When Democrats have a slim majority, they compromise they compromise their values away. In other words, we support moral issues, but we will compromise our morality if we have just a slight advantage. But Republicans come in, they don't compromise anything. They take a Supreme Court justice. They don't care. And what you have out of Tim Walz is somebody who says, you know what? I am a very nice guy. I'm a very moral guy. I don't care if you want to call me a progressive. What I'm going to do for the American people, they're going to want. And you know why they want it? Because they asked for it. And that's what I give them. And that's the reason I played that whole piece. I did that thing 2 years ago, you know. That piece is almost 2 years old. The one that I just played. Almost 2 years old. And that was when Minnesota, when they turned all their state legislature, their legislature, their Senate, and the governor all became a Democratic bunch. And then he was able to do the things that needed to get done. So I have not even, all the things that went right in this country was done under progressive leadership. It has never been done under conservative leadership, like I always talk about. And we have to, I said it before and I need to repeat it again. If conservative policies were so good, why it is that the poorest states are red, the sickest states are red, the least educated states are red. The proof is in the pudding. You give me the results, I tell you what policies I have. And it's that simple. If you take a look, if you stack the states up, the ones that are in bad shape economically, the one that has the most poverty, the ones that have sick people are red state. You don't have to listen to what I'm saying. Look it up. There you go. Go ahead, Ray. Close her out for me.
Yeah, well, I just got a chance to watch the Kamala Harris rally, and just hearing her talk, hearing her confidence, you know, it makes me think about one thing. It's like she called him out, and that's something he's not used to. And I know he's crapping his pants because you know what? He's been talking all of that. I'm the law and order candidate for a long time, but now you have to go against a real law and order candidate right across from you. And if you don't show up, you're going to look like a weak little female dog, if you know what I mean. And if you do show up, she's going to call you out, even make you look even worse. And you still going to look like a whiny little female dog. So either way it goes, you either going to, stand back and pretend like she's not worthy of your battle of wits, or you could take your beating like a man. And that's how I got to say that. That's all I got to say about that, Egberto.
Did you give a speech already?
Pardon?
Great.
I saw she did. Oh, she did a speech in Atlanta. I saw that one in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, the one in Atlanta was great, and she also did one here in Houston, where she did a great job here in Houston. So I mean, what can I say? It is amazing, but it's got to be great. I kept on saying a landslide. People don't want to believe it's going to be a landslide yet, but I think people are starting to come to the realization that that's just where we're heading. Anyway, Ray, thank you so much for calling in, my brother.
Hey, bro, listening to you, it's within the realm of possible. I'll keep
All right,
on
take care about it. Peace out. All right, folks, the only thing that stops us from getting a landslide is if the Democrats fall into the trap that Republicans are about to set up. And that is the fear going out there and telling Americans all the great things they're going to do for them. That's the only thing that stops a landslide. That Democrats fall into the trap of fearing, going out there and saying, we are going to establish the right type of policy that will make your life whole. That's the only thing that stops a landslide. And my contention right now is I hope that, given that who we have now is Tim Walz. Tim Walz know very well. Tim Walz has been a good steward of good policies. Anyway, folks, I got one more video to play for you, and this one is from this one is sort of what we have to be prepared for. And then I'll read Bridges, conservative versus liberal after this. But this is what we have to be prepared for from the mainstream media, including the media we like to call liberal. Let's check it out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let me go here and para ver. Let me play this here for you, and then we'll take it on the other side. Look, I really like Jose Diaz-Balart. He is a host on MSNBC, but for some reason, I saw him kind of coalesce into that normal, stagnant talking point that seemed to make progressive a pejorative. In other words, make progressive seem like there's an issue with being progressive. So he asked the governor, or rather, he asked the DFL chair earlier on if somehow being a progressive, the governor Walz being a progressive creates a problem. I tell you what, listen to this segment of his interview, and then we'll take it on the other side.
How progressive of a leader has he been, and how effective has he been as a progressive governor?
Well, look, I mean, you can try to put any label you want on the governor. The reality is he's passed legislation that's made a difference in people's lives. He brought down child care costs. He passed a bill to make preschool meals, the largest paid family and medical leave act in the nation, the largest child tax credit in the nation. He codified reproductive rights in our state, made the largest investment in our K-12 education system. These are all, of course, laws now that will improve families' lives and children's lives in this state. And if that's progressive, then so be it. As the governor said, progress is important, and moving forward and making sure that we're using power to make a difference is really at the heart of why he serves. I've known the governor for over 20 years. I've watched his remarkable both in Congress and then, of course, as our governor. And he has a great record of success to be able to tell to the American people. And you couple that with what Vice President Harris and President Biden have done for America these last 3.5 years. You have two public servants in Kamala Harris and Tim Walz who delivered for both the state and for the American people. You contrast that with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, who have done nothing of any note while they have served in office, whether it was Donald Trump during his first term as president, and of course now with J.D. Vance. There's no legislation they can point to that actually made a difference in the lives of Americans.
So you see, I mean, it's not that Ballard was bad. It's just that the tonality that he gave the impression as if Tim Walz has to find some excuse to unprogressivize or conservatize, if those are words, his progressiveness. So I really got upset when I saw that piece, that segment. So I immediately sent JD Ballard, Jose Diaz Ballard, a tweet. And I said, JD Ballard, I've always respected you as a journalist. I was disappointed with the implication and tonality with DFL chair Ken Martin. This is the question you asked. How progressive of a leader has he been? How effective has he been as a progressive governor? The tone seemed almost pejorative, emphasizing progressive, even as most Americans say they want the progressive policies Ken Martin articulated by north of 70%. I never heard asked of J.D. Vance, how conservative a leader has he been? How effective has he been as a conservative senator? The fact is, when described accurately, conservative policies are not popular. And how come we don't continuously ask, if conservatism offers the best policies, why are the conservative states the poorest, the sickest, and the least educated? Let's bring truth and honesty to the conversation. Also, by the way, with one vote, Democratic majority, he effectively got his policies to fruition. That is effective governance. The man actually got many progressive policies passed during his administration in Minnesota with a one vote majority. That is effective governing. And that is who Kamala Harris will have to work with her, to which I say kudos. Kudos to VP Harris for an excellent choice. Absolutely kudos to VP Harris for an excellent choice. Anyway, Bridge MCP sent another link here that I find quite intriguing. Comparison charts, political views. On the conservative side, right-wing anti-federalists prefer smaller government, less regulation, most services to be provided by the private sector in a free market, and a literal interpretation of the Constitution. All of that is false based on what these guys have created the new rights for Donald Trump, right? Think about this. They've given Donald Trump's immunity. That's not in the Constitution, so they're not reading it literally. And the private sector free market, it's not free market. It is monopolized markets. All right. But left-wing federalists prefer more regulation and services like free universal health care to be provided by the government to all citizens. Yes. Now, I don't call it free medical service though, because we all collectively pay for it. Economic views. Government should tax less and spend less. Cutting spending to balance the budget should be the priority. Higher income earners should have an incentive to invest credits. Charity is the responsibility of the people. Government should, the right side. The left side said government should provide more services for the less fortunate and increase taxes if necessary. High income earners should pay a larger percentage of their income as taxes. And you know why? Because their income is the excess labor of everybody else. Their benefit is an economic system that is able to build on the work of others. That's why I call it many times parasitic behavior. Social views oppose gay marriage, abortion, and embryonic stem cell research, support the right to bear arms, death penalty, and personal responsibility. On the other side, gays to get equal rights like everyone else. Abortion should be legal. Support embryonic stem cell research. Support restrictions and regulations around the right to bear arms. Absolutely. And that's what most Americans say they want, right? And personal responsibility. Individuals should exercise personal responsibility, and it is a government's role to hold them accountable, even with severe penalties. Laws are enacted to reflect best interest on the society. And of course, they proved that not to be true, because personal responsibility would dictate that oil companies stop polluting the air, right? That's personal responsibility on the part of that entity. Remember, corporations are people in our country, and that entity continues to pollute. The people should look to the government to provide a structure. I agree. Laws are enacted to protect every individual for an equal society, sometimes the expense economy, freedom, if necessary. So, folks, it's not difficult. This is not difficult stuff. Anyway, we are coming to the end of the program. And if anybody wants to give me a quick call to discuss anything, you can give me a quick call right now, 281-823-7747. Still got about 3 minutes. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Anybody wants to call in and say, hey, we're happy for what is happening now, give us a call. This is a joyful day because, again, Kamala has proven that she's willing to make the difficult choices, even if some in the establishment are not too happy with it. That's what you support, a piece of, I mean, it's amazing, right? When somebody can support a piece of trash like Donald Trump, and then they think they have a moral something over anybody else, right? But you know what? We just have Lizard Queen. We just have to love him. We just have to love him. But here is Brigitte. Come on in, my dear Brigitte. Talk to me.
Hey, you. Hey, everybody. I wanted to point out a couple of things. And well, first, we know that the more the left side gets better, the crazier the right get. But besides that, I wanted to comment about the Felon thing, like Eric, and I really need to know, why does Eric make all these stupid faces? I don't know. Anyway, a lot of places besides Minnesota have passed laws to let felons vote because they served their time and all that crap. And they give them a certain amount of time, and they should vote. They did their time, they paid their price, and they should vote. The funniest thing is, like you addressed, and I did, but they're going to vote for one. And that tells me that they don't believe he's guilty. It was a make-believe trial. It was all this crap. He is a felon. It was regular citizens that did this. I mean, that's it. If you commit a crime and you pay the price, that's it. You're done now. You did what you had to do, and now you're out, and you're free. You want to give them a year to be free and see what happens? Okay. But it was the right thing to do to let felons vote. I mean, it's terrible that they can't. And they removed so many that actually, I forget what state it was. It was a couple of them that were able to vote, and they wouldn't let them anyway because they were red states.
That was Florida. The people, look, Florida, listen, Bridge, the people voted overwhelmingly to make felons who paid their price to society vote. And you know what technicality that those crooks use? Oh, if you haven't paid your fine, you can't vote. Donald Trump is a felon. And I bet they don't care if he votes. And in fact, they're voting for a felon for the presidency. Think about it. Think about it. They know this guy raped women. They know this guy raped a woman at least once. They know this guy hold women by their crutches. They know this guy lies and rip people off. They know all these things, and they're willing to vote for him. That says something about them, not about us.
Well, look
about them.
No, look at the Epstein thing. I mean, he still has people out there, young girls, with lawsuits about him doing that to them, with Epstein. And they don't seem to care about anything he does. Nothing.
That just proves
it's all bullshit. It's all lies.
Exactly. It's a moral.
Kind of like oxygen. Yeah, they have no morals, and then they keep projecting.
That's my point.
We're
exactly.
We're this.
Look, let me tell you. That's the thing, right? They can't see it because they are so tunnel vision into what they believe. But the rest of the world sees it. If we were to elect Donald Trump again, right? Well, we never elected him in the first place. The Electoral College did. But if the people were to come and elect Donald Trump, the rest of the world would really say, well, we have officially lost it. And we wouldn't only lose our station in the world, but we'll lose a lot more, because no longer would we be taken seriously. Kamala is taken very seriously already from people overseas. So, I mean, the thing about it is I got to go, Breach, but you know what, my dear, beautiful lady, it's good times. We're going to win, and we are going to win big. And then look, for people who are saying these things, disregard them. I mean, you notice I love Eric, but I ignore Eric today because he was unhinged. He was completely unhinged because he's about to lose big. He's unhinged. I still love him. I'm going to give him a hug the next time I see him. But he's unhinged.
No, I wouldn't.
Because, again, they're going to lose, and they're not only going to lose the presidency. Nikki Haley told them they're going to lose everything. But anyway, Breach, thank you for calling in, my dear, beautiful sister.
But just one more thing. Remind the people on YouTube, like Lizard Queen, whatever you're saying to people on Facebook, they don't see it. So just let them know that. I keep telling them that, but they don't know that. But anyway,
please. You thank you very much. You just told them. Anyway, folks, please support the program however you can. Please support the program however you can. And how can you do that? You can do that by going to politicsdoneright.com/support. That is our all-encompassing way to support the Politics Done Right. Go to politicsdoneright.com/support. Now, I'd love for you all who have the wherewithal to become paid subscribers of our newsletter. And we have a lot of stuff come out of our newsletter, and you get to read all of my books, both current and future books, for free. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. If you subscribe to my newsletter, you can read all my books online. Of course, as well, if you want to get hard copies of my book or Kindle versions of my books, go to politicsdoneright.com/books. Just to let you guys see a little quickie of it. These are all our books. As I see it: Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man, How to Make America Utopia, as well as It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative, Friends, and Neighbors. And of course, I'm reading this book again because I had to lose 15 pounds and I'm down 10 already. Lose weight and be fit now. And the reason I wrote that book is for myself. I wrote it while I was on a ship, while I was on a cruise, to make sure that I followed all the rules. So anyway, please support the program however you can. politicsdoneright.com/books is how you can get any one of my books, politicsdoneright.com/books. And of course, if you subscribe to my newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, I ask you to be a paid subscriber so that we can continue to move forward. Anyway, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. But before I end it, love you all. How I end this baby? I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to hear your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.